governments of our country for providing compulsory environmental education to the students of schools and colleges throughout the country. Thereafter, UGC, University Grant Commission, which is our academic authority, constituted a core committee comprising a chairman and 4 members to monitor and review matters relating to implementation of direction on Mehta's public interest litigation. On 24th March, designed a 6-month module syllabus for UG courses of all branches of higher education. However, at the initial level, many universities did not comply it, and even in the year 2014, UGC compelled to alert university by saying that non-compliance of the order is tantamount to contempt of court. And it is a matter of relief that recently all universities have implemented this 8 units module syllabus on environmental education. Now the objective behind this order is to raise the environmental consciousness and the awareness among the young citizens of the country so that they may realize the importance of environment for human well-being, and they will sensitize others as to the local, regional, and global environmental issues. Environmental education refers to organized efforts how natural environment function, and particularly how human beings can manage behavior and ecosystem to live sustainably. It is a multidisciplinary field integrating disciplines such as biology, chemistry, physics, earth science, atmospheric science, geography, etc., etc. And the thing is that the question is that rather why our Honorable Supreme Court and UGC had to react proactively on the issue. And the answer may be given in one sentence, that the reason is our wrongdoings towards nature. We are being taught, and rather from school days, we are taught that environment is the thing that surrounds us, which means human is the center of it, and environment is meant for mankind, human beings. So the ego, this is called a ego of geocentrism. It has misled us, and that is why from ages we have failed to realize our duties towards nature. Each species on earth has known its place and they stay there, but humans have changed the environment as per their convenience. And these led to different burning issues like deforestation, air water pollution, climate change, ozone layer depletion, greenhouse effect, acid rain, global warming, etc. and etc. Now, to mitigate these burning issues and to save this humanity from extinction, the highest level of research and teaching learning on the subject is a prime necessity now. And the thing is that keeping in mind the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed 2021 to 2030 as the decade on ecological restoration. This is a call to all governments, all communities, all individuals of the globe for preventing the degradation of the ecosystem worldwide for the benefit of people and nature. Therefore, it is our duty to appeal to our Beloved students, the future generation of the globe, please actively and sincerely participate in this venture of ecological restoration in order to enhance the people's livelihood, counteract climate change, and to stop the collapse of the biodiversity. Now, the thing is that if we try to understand the current scenario regarding these environmental issues and the climate change, particularly the topic of today's discussion, we may cite some key points here. This is very, very clear, rather crystal clear to us, that Earth's climate has been stable for the past 12,000 years. This stability has been crucial for the development of modern civilization. A stable climate enabled humans to preserve agriculture, domesticate animals, settle down, and development of culture of the different countries. Scientists turn up evidences that changes in climate, both large and small, are at least partly responsible for the rise and fall of many ancient civilizations. Example is disappearance of Uber. Droughts have also been linked to the fall of the Maya civilization around 900 AD and the demise of the spectacular Cambodian city of Angkor in the early 1400s. Our way of life depends on a stable climate. Faced with a changing climate, we must learn the lessons of past collapsed civilization and adapt accordingly. At the end, I should say that we must be moderate, we must be frugal, and we must be nature lover, because the eternal truth is nature, the ultimate savior. Thank you everybody once again to here to listen this part of this webinar with great patience. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Very much.
Thank you very much.
Always
Always
you
you
help us
help us
in every program.
in every program.
Now I'd
Now
like to
I'd
call
like to
upon
call upon
PME Marceliana.
Marceliana.
I think she has two words to say.
I think some echo is coming. Disturbs your sound. Please check your microphone or the set. Yeah, it's okay now.
Okay.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, please.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Yeah, my name is Okwemi Marcelina Aderito, the Executive Director of the African Center for Human Advancement, Social and Community Development from Nigeria. I want to thank our partners in India for this great opportunity for putting this together. It's really a wonderful one. And I want to acknowledge the presence of the principal. You are really doing great, and I'm happy to be part of this occasion, this webinar. So, we are not the main speaker. We're just to give a speech, a little brief speech in this program. Please, I hope I'm audible enough. Okay. So, we'll just be talking about, we all know much about the climate change, and we know the causes of climate change. If you want to believe with me, in Africa, we have more problems of climate change, and there are a lot of causes to that. Can you hear me?
Yes, you audible. Yeah. You are audible, PME. Okay. I think there is a little bit network problem. Yeah. Hello, PME.
Hello, PME.
Are you here?
Are you here?
she is left due to
Yes.
network problems.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We are go to the Opiomi is the yeah. You can continue, Opiomi.
Okay, so I'll be talking more about the effects of climate change in Africa.
Yeah. Yes. Domenico, you continue your program, sir. Thank you. Welcome, Domenico, and continue your as you're planning your program. And if you after the lecture over, we can talk with the OPME also. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, good morning or good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for having me today. It's a great pleasure to be able to present my research to such guests. And so, a little bit about me. I studied archaeology in Italy, and then I switched to economic history. So now I am working in between Italy and Germany, between the University of Bologna and the University of Tübingen in Germany. So the core of my research is about the impact of climate change in ancient societies, but also about economic and political development in the very long run. So this being said, I think that I can start with my presentation, and I will show it to you in a second. Okay, can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. All right, so the title of today's presentation is about is climate change and political evolution in ancient and modern developing societies. Then we will go into detail about that. So the outline of the presentation is structured like this. We will start with framing the nature of the problem. Then I will elaborate about why ancient societies are important for understanding the impact of climate change even today. Then I will talk a little bit about this literature, which is called collapse archaeology, which connects climate change with the collapse of ancient civilizations. Then we will go. We'll talk about the main case study for today, which is ancient Mesopotamia. I will show you a little bit of historical facts and new findings from my research. Then we will talk about how to use historical lessons for addressing contemporary problems connected to climate change, of course. We will see how we can use these lessons to understand the patterns of development of current countries. We will also talk about some case studies, and then we will conclude. So the nature of the problem is, to put it simply like this, we all know that global warming, which is the problem that we are dealing with, connected to climate change, has a very negative impact on the economy. We have been seeing that quite sharply for the whole globe, but even more for developing countries. But what is going to happen? My question is, what is going to happen in the medium and long term? We don't know because we cannot see into the future, right? So most of the projected effects of global warming are on socioeconomic, on the socioeconomic sectors and on health. So yes, we cannot see into the future, but we can, as social scientists, try to forecast what's going to be. And we have to ask ourselves what is going to happen, right? If temperatures keep on rising. So most of the predictions are about the social and economic impact of climate change and on human health. As you can see from this chart, climate change could trigger mass migrations, reduction of agricultural harvest, the rise of prices of goods, of foodstuff, the spread of diseases, as we can see, unfortunately for COVID, more conflict, problems related to water, etc. But what is going to be the impact on political systems? This is something that very few people are, this is a question that very few people are asking. So we don't know what is going to happen at the political level. So why is it important to look into the past? It's important to look into the past because since we don't know what is going to happen in the future, the only way to try to have a sense, try to predict it, is to look into history. Because across human history, human societies have to deal with repeated cycles of climate change. As you can see from this chart, since the end of the glacial age, which is at the bottom right of this chart, the temperatures were very low. Then they started to rise again. And at this very point, when temperatures reached an optimum, agriculture was introduced in the ancient Middle East, and human communities started to be more and more reliant on their environment. So from this point onwards, climate was yes, seemingly stable if you look at on the very long run until here when global warming started. But ancient societies witnessed numerous episodes of climate change. Also, because of the fact that ancient societies were highly reliant on agriculture, it is easier to observe the link between environmental climate and socioeconomic change. Also, the advantage of looking into the past is that we have increasingly more and more sophisticated data sets to study the development of ancient societies, because archaeology and paleoenvironmental science is producing more and more sophisticated data about ancient society. So in a word, ancient societies are exceptional historical laboratories for testing theories about the impact of climate change. But there is a problem with this, because most of the narratives in historical and archaeological literature are about the collapse of ancient civilizations. And as we have said before, so the dominant idea is that every time the climate changed in the past, civilization collapsed. And for example, this very famous book by Jared Diamond is one of the main to civilization collapse, and two, are at the top, which are connected to climate and environment, environmental degradation, and climate change. So according to this literature, climate change brought natural disasters, limited availability of goods, depletion of resources, and instability, which brought to collapse. But not everybody agrees with this idea, and archaeologists and historians started to produce competing literatures, competing research in which they showed that not all the times climate change entailed collapse in the ancient world. Archaeologists started to reject the idea that there is a strong correlation between climate change and collapse. And they started to emphasize that ancient society were also highly resilient. So people in the past learned how to deal with climate change. They overcame it and they solved some of the issues connected to it. This literature started to emphasize that even if there was collapse, it could have been caused by other factors, which could have been socioeconomic or internal, such as institutional weakness, civil conflict, migration, epidemics, etc. So, which version is the right one? There is no right version. These are very complex phenomena that need to be studied carefully, because it is true that climate change and connected problems could cause economic downfall and eventually collapse. But it is also true that in some cases, ancient societies were learned how to deal with climate change. They created resilience, and they could actually thrive. So how do we tackle this problem if we want to study carefully ancient history? So we need credible theoretical models of institutional evolution. So we need to understand how political systems change in the past. We also need to observe both short and long-term changes and impacts. And we need to have sophisticated paleoenvironmental, economic, institutional data. So we started to we understood that to actually answer the question about the impact of climate change in the ancient world, we needed a very good case study. So we focused on ancient Mesopotamia. Why ancient Mesopotamia? Well, ancient Mesopotamia is a natural laboratory for studying state formation and state development, because it provides the first examples of states in human history. So states grew for the first time in ancient Mesopotamia, which is the area comprised between the Gulf and Turkey, push ancient elite to share political more erratic climate, which is having a strong effect on the agricultural economy of the country. And the government has been reacting to it. One example is, for example, and I'm sure you know this better than me, the act that was passed by the government in 2005, the so-called Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, which could be considered a case of democratic deepening, because this project started a program of reforms that involve the local communities in the creation of new infrastructures that were also very useful to fight climate change. So it's considered an example of community-based adaptation. So what happened is that the government started to give to local communities the power to finance local infrastructures. As you can see, these are examples of infrastructures that have been financed through this program. They are bridges, roads, dams, and other irrigation works that made available more and more, for example, water at local level. This had a series of beneficial effects. It involved civil society in decision-making. It shifted tax revenues from centralized to local communities. It also strengthened the norms of trust and cooperation between people. And we know that cooperation and local coordination is essential to fight climate change. So this is just one example of how drought and climate change on the short term can cause economic damages, but on the long term can also cause democracy to become more widespread and more deep. So the conclusions are that, as I said before, climate change has a very strong negative effect on the economy short term, but has an asymmetric effect on political development long term. So it could also help governments to become more democratic on the long term. So, but if you want to forecast, to predict the long-term effects of climate change on our societies, and especially on the most vulnerable societies, which are the developing countries, we need to also have historical knowledge. And the ancient society can provide testing grounds for theories and precious historical lessons to understand more profoundly how climate change affects our human societies. And also, if we want to make better climate change policies, we should not only study the history of Western countries, but also study the ancient history of developing countries and calibrate climate change policies accordingly. And this is all for now. Thank you for your attention. And I look forward to your questions. I hope that everything was clear, because one of the main problems is when you present to a heterogeneous, let's say, to the heterogeneous class, you never know what is clear and what is not. So let me know if I can clarify any of the statements on any of the findings. Sorry. So the main concept about local adaptation is that local communities know their environment much better than central governments, right? So if you give local communities the power to act, they are much more faster than centralized governments that are, of course, more slower, and they know better where to intervene. So what is happening in many countries in the developing world is that central governments are vertically integrating local communities, civil societies, in order to have faster and more adaptable responses to climate change. So, for example, in the act that we mentioned before, in India, the central government allowed local communities, small communities, to decide which are the main infrastructure that they need. So there is a little bit of controversy here because you can always find some powerful local person that tries to exploit this to build, for example, a road that goes to his house. But in most of the cases, people were able to express what they wanted most to deal with the problems that they were dealing with, which is basically irrigation infrastructure. So in this way, if you integrate civil communities, you get a lot of good things out of it, because you are able to intervene in a more capillary fashion locally. And this is crucial for fighting climate change. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yes, yes, of course. Well, they were most vulnerable because they had no technology comparable to us. So, of course, it was most dangerous for them. But at the same time, yes, in some cases, climate change also prompted very nice adaptation that had good feedback for farmers and people. So not in all cases was climate change was detrimental. Yeah, he's muted.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Now I am audible. Thank you. Thanks God. Now my question is, Dr. Giacomo, that now in the past, during the Mesopotamia or Harappan or Incas civilization, what are the cause behind the climate change at that time? because at that time the anthropogenic effects are not so prominent, because they have no technology, no industry or
Yeah.
greenhouse gases, etc. The why these climate change naturally or anthropogenic, this climate change appear at that time?
Yeah, it was of course natural. I cannot answer in deep this question because I am not a paleoclimatologist. But so basically, what we know is that in the past there have been several cycles of climate change which are connected to natural phenomena of our planet. Um, um, these have been reconstructed in great detail because now paleoclimatologists are able to create models by collecting, for example, ice cores from Iceland and from the North Pole, and we study pollens, and so we have a very good idea of the climate of at least the past 12,000 years. So we use climatic proxies that reconstruct the climate for each month for the last 11,000 years. So of course, I don't think that ancient societies were able to affect the environment in such a scale to cause environmental degradation. Of course, we know that from the Bronze Age, ancient societies were able to, by, for example, cutting down trees and developing cities, they were able to affect to some extent their environment. And this could have helped in or make some phenomena worse. But I don't think that, of course, nothing is comparable to anthropogenic global warming. So, so yes, the climate was naturally changing, and in some phases was warm and humid, and that prompted, for example, the introduction of agriculture, the introduction of urbanization, etc. In other phases, it was cold. So for example, during the medieval period, the so-called Little Ice Age, the climate was very cold, and that has a very strong effect on economy and society.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. So anybody have any question from our viewer or participants? Opium is not present, but any body from her organization from USA? From USA, anybody present? Because he is write me that somebody from USA is present from her organization. No.
Yes. Am I audible?
Domenico also. So please visit our So please visit our college after the war is over, after the normal situation is appear. So and we wish that war is not long lasting, because so this is the our good wishes for you and European community actually whole. It's a very big problem, the war. So at the last, I call Dr. Navanita Dotto. So vote of thanks. Give the vote of thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Benati. Thank you, Domenico. We are very glad to being with us for your presentation, and we are also very grateful and thankful all of the viewers and audience and my dear students who are present here. Everyone, I place my thanks and gratitude to all of them. Thank you, Professor Benati, most because of your presence, and you are wonderful presented your papers that actually how climate was affect our civilization in ancient, present, and every civilization is depend on climate changes actually. So civilization ahead with our environment actually, without environmental issues, our universe not possible to human being present human being development progress actually. So thank you, sir, being with us. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
We are meet live. Please come in our college. Yeah. Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, of
Bye.
course. We are very much awaiting.
Bye.
Yes.
Bye.
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 Bye.